All right, welcome back, everybody. Check this out. A lot of us are fans of R. Kelly's, or were fans of R. Kelly. We grew up listening to his music. He was huge when he was at the top of his game. He is someone that's legendary. His musical talents cannot be denied, and his stardom was real, right? But where R. Kelly is today is a far cry from being on that stage in front of thousands of fans and being known as the Pied Piper or the one. I believe I can fly, Grammy Award winning the one. Right now, a lot of people want to know about the life and times of R. Kelly, what happened and where he is now.
Coming from a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays, all the niggas, they be see-through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people. Finding my own path like I'm writing my own sequel. Two-faced people all around, they be evil. 2021, you can never trust nobody. Good and bad thoughts on my mind, they be crowded. Wish a nigga pass his limits, then he see he bought it. Family work hard, but I never catch them frowning. Came a long way, in my dream now I be drowning. Niggas stay dying out here, got some hearts pounded. Multi-talented, my passion I haven't found it. Yeah, in my home, I was never ever doubted. Coming from a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays, all the niggas, they be see-through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people.
And I think that Nicki Swift actually put this together really well. So I'm going to give it to you exactly how it was created. NickiSwift.com, shout out. So, R. Kelly has been battling sexual misconduct allegations since the 90s. But it wasn't until 2019 that the I Believe I Can Fly singer was actually placed behind bars to await a trial that, as of November of 2020, has not happened yet. Now, as the BBC reports, Kelly's questionable behavior began in 1994. When he was age 27, and he actually got married to 15-year-old Aaliyah back then. In 1996, he was sued by Tiffany Hawkins, who dated Kelly when she was 15 years old, and alleged that personal injuries and emotional distress were the order of the day. In the early 2000s, the singer was then sued by 3 women. In 2002, he was slapped with 21 counts of making child pornography, followed by 12 more charges and an arrest in Florida. Insufficient evidence resulted in him walking free on all charges, and it wasn't until a 2017 BuzzFeed feature alleged Kelly of running a sex cult that more women began to come forward. The Lifetime documentary, which is now famous, Surviving R. Kelly, shortly followed that. And as Billboard notes, Kelly was arrested in February of 2019, and he was charged with 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse against 4 women, including 3 minors. And for that, he was released on $100,000 bail. That July, though, Kelly was arrested again, except this time there would be no bail. Now, after being charged with 18 counts of kidnapping, forced labor, child sexual exploitation, and child pornography production and obstruction of justice, he was placed behind bars finally, where he remains until this current moment. Here's what R. Kelly's life is really like in prison right now. Now, on July 11th of 2019, R. Kelly was arrested, right, while he was walking his dog in Chicago, and he was slapped with a 13 counts of indictment. 13 counts of indictment, which, according to ABC News, included charges of sexual exploitation of children, conspiracy to defraud the United States, coercion, child pornography. He entered a plea of not guilty on all these charges, but still remained behind bars at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago to await his trial. Now, just a few weeks later, in August of 2019, Kelly was brought into court by 3 U.S. Marshals, as it was reported on ABC News, with his hands clasped behind his back, handcuffed. Kelly was reportedly wearing blue prison scrubs and orange slip-on shoes with a white and blue striped sole on the shoes, and he was sporting a thick beard as he faced another set of charges which were filed against him in Brooklyn federal court. This time, Kelly pled not guilty to 5 charges, claiming he ran an enterprise made up of managers, drivers, assistants, and more, whose jobs wasn't just to promote his music, but also to recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activities with R. Kelly. Now, despite Kelly's not guilty plea, the magistrate judge, Stephen L. Tiscion, denied him bail and ordered that the singer be detained pending trial. On January 8th of 2020, Kelly celebrated his 53rd birthday in jail, and as of November of 2020, as we speak right now, it appears that this is where he'll be spending his 54th birthday as well. In late March of 2020, shortly after the World Health Organization called COVID-19 a pandemic, R. Kelly asked a federal judge to set him free due to health concerns, as reported by CBS Minnesota. Now, in the filing, which was submitted to the U.S. District Court in Chicago, R. Kelly's lawyers wrote that the health risk to Mr. Kelly, because of his age and his existing health issues, especially considering the conditions at the jail, necessitates his release on bail. In other words, they're saying, please let him out because he has health issues and pre-existing conditions which make him more susceptible to catching COVID-19. They claimed that the Metropolitan Correctional Center, where Kelly is waiting trial, lacks access to basic hygiene measures, including soap and hand sanitizers, and that the size of the cell makes social distancing impossible. They also argued that the court have long recognized that there is no greater necessity than keeping a defendant alive, no matter what the charge is. Their plea fell on deaf ears. He was denied bail. However, now, as the Hollywood Reporter learned in April, Judge Ann M. Donnelly ruled that R. Kelly would remain in prison because he's a flight risk and that he poses a danger to the community, especially to prospective witnesses. Now, in August of 2019, The Blast had put out that R. Kelly's lawyers were petitioning for his release from solitary confinement, and they were claiming that the singer had no meaningful interaction with other human beings, and that he spent no time outside getting any sunlight, and that he couldn't even buy snacks, even though other inmates were allowed to do all those things. Now, all of these claims of unfair treatment were quickly shut down by prosecutors who stated through The Blast that Kelly has had a cellmate for quite some time, despite his initial refusal to have one. In fact, he has had more than one cellmate so far. They even said that, what's more, they revealed that as of September of 2019, the defendant had access, which is R. Kelly, had access to indoor recreation 3 times a week, though it was not outdoor on the rooftop, and that he had 7 social visits to date, as well as 3 purely social phone calls. Now, as for those snacks, they added that he purchased items from the commissary, including snacks such as Snickers, and that at the jail cell, the staff have taken steps to ensure that the defendant's safety is top priority, and that he has been treated with dignity and with respect. But we all know how prison is, and we all know how jails are. A lot of stuff goes on behind them bars, man, that are just not spoken out in public. A whole lot of abuse goes on. Anyhow, a lot of people are saying that this is his karma. It's funny how he used to lock girls in rooms and isolate them, and he is now the one locked in a cell and isolated. So carry on with the story. In August of 2020, TMZ had actually put out that R. Kelly was placed back in solitary confinement for his own safety following an attack that took place inside his cell. Now, according to sources, Kelly was sitting on his bed when the inmate walked in and just began punching him because he was mad that protests staged by the killer's supporters outside of the jail were causing the facility to go on lockdown all the damn time. Kelly's lawyers, Steve Greensburg, he wasted no time. He used that attack as a reason to ask for his client's release. Now, we have not been provided any information from the jail, nor has Mr. Kelly called, is what his lawyer said. Regardless, it is time to release Mr. Kelly. The government cannot ensure his safety, and they cannot give him his day in court. This is what his lawyer said. We should not incarcerate people indefinitely because we cannot provide them with due justice. It is just not right. That's not how the justice system is supposed to work. Instead, the jail decided to put R. Kelly back in solitary confinement. Damn it. That's the only place they can protect him. Greensburg later told Page 6, explaining that the root of the altercation, he added that, my understanding is that every time there is a pro-R. Kelly protest outside the jail, they lock down the entire facility. When they do this, though, inmates don't get their commissary. They don't get their showers. They don't get their visits, stuff like that. And since they're fairly sporadic anyways, they get upset. So they're penalizing everyone in the facility because people are protesting outside in support of R. Kelly. And what that ends up becoming is the inmates are now angry at R. Kelly and they are targeting him. You got to understand that when you in prison, man, commissary is everything. Your visits, that's everything. Showers, that's everything. You're not at home anymore where you can just jump in the shower, take a shower, go to the refrigerator, get something to eat, or jump in your car and go visit whoever you want to visit, or tell them stop by the house. So this is everything for these inmates. But I can see how they're doing R. Kelly in the process, though. He is going through some crazy abuse simply because people are protesting outside of the jail and the jail don't like it. So what do? They lock the entire facility down, which makes the inmates very mad at R. Kelly. Now, in October of 2020, R. Kelly's lawyer rehashed the altercation that took place in his cell in August in a new court filing claiming, now this came through CNN, that a new video proved that no one raised a finger until R. Kelly's attacker was well into beating him, claiming that R. Kelly has suffered significant physical and psychological injuries. His lawyer, Michael Leonard, argued that an unresolved issue remains as to whether MCC jails personnel encouraged and then allowed a beating of Mr. Kelly to take place. That alone merits an evidentiary hearing. Now check it out. Meanwhile, prison employee D. Shishowski, who broke up the fight, actually said the lawyers, he actually claimed that were simply not true. He said, we actually did jump in and helped him. We didn't let that man beat him just like that. Now, as he told it, he acted immediately when he found inmate Jeremiah Shane Farmer punching R. Kelly repeatedly in the head and the torso. The jail personnel also explained that he ordered Farmer to cease the assault, and when he refused, he actually deployed pepper spray to stop the attack. Now, as Farmer, he claimed in documents obtained by TMZ that he had attacked R. Kelly in hopes of shedding some light on the government's corruption. Now, what this person, and that person actually even went on to say that he was encouraged by jailhouse personnel to beat the daylights out of R. Kelly. These days, R. Kelly appears to have as many lawyers as charges, okay? And I don't know why he's doing that, because all that's going to do is deplete his funds. Now, following the attack in his cell, yet another lawyer spoke out on behalf of her client, telling the Chicago Sun-Times that fear and terror have left him petrified and paranoid. Nicole Blank Becker went on to claim that her client, which is R. Kelly, can't sleep and is now afraid to leave his cell during the 2 hours that he's permitted daily to venture out of the cell. His insomnia is serious, she said. He's even afraid to get his hair cut. What's more, Becker alleged that R. Kelly is scared for his life and that he's terrified and that he's gained so much weight during this COVID lockdown because of the lack of exercise. He's locked in a cell all the time. Becker went on to share her very different account of the attack. And she told the outlet that the singer, which is R. Kelly, was actually laying down with a blanket covering his face and wearing AirPods on the bottom tier of a bunk at about 9:45 a.m. He was listening to his music, probably singing a little bit because it's R. Kelly, when someone who was wearing shoes entered his unlocked cell and began to stomp and kick his face, calling the decision to keep him behind bars tremendously unfair. She argued, he's stuck in jail and he can't get a trial because of the pressures of COVID-19 on the prison system. He can't even have contact with outside world. He lives in a tiny little cell in fear of his own safety, and he suffers from headaches from being beaten up physically. This is what she said. R. Kelly was set to face charges of racketeering and sexual misconduct in Brooklyn federal court on July 2020. But as Vulture confirmed in April, Judge Ann M. Donnelly rescheduled it for September 29th due to the pandemic. We're past September 29th now. As the outlet noted, this would likely cause his Chicago federal trial, which had already been moved once from April to October 13th, to be pushed back even more. Now, come August, jury trials had resumed in Chicago, but if Kelly was hopeful he'd keep his court date, he was wrong. Prosecutors petitioned the courts to postpone his hearing, noting that the difficulty of keeping everyone safe as they planned to call 50 witnesses, 12 to 13 of which would have to travel in from a different state, including 8 to 9 of whom would be coming in from states on Chicago's coronavirus quarantine list. They also argued, and this was in the Chicago Sun-Times, that the trial would draw 34 to 36 people to a courtroom, not counting spectators, and that the risks were too high. Wow. Now, the U.S. District Judge Henry Leinenweber, he agreed. And this was also through the Chicago Tribune. He agreed that physically it seems to be virtually impossible to proceed to trial in October. Kelly's lawyer, Stephen Greenberg, argued that Mr. Kelly shouldn't have to rot away in jail just because the government doesn't want their witness to spend a short time in quarantine. But even if Leinenweber conceded, Kelly was ordered to be held without bond over his New York charges anyways, so he wouldn't be released anyways. Now, trying his best to get R. Kelly out of prison, which a good lawyer would do, his lawyers have asked for his release a total of 6 times now, and they've been denied a total of 6 times now. At the time of this writing, most recently they petitioned the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in September of 2020, arguing that the singer hadn't been able to prepare for his case for 6 months and he should therefore be released. Now, speaking with CNN, Kelly's legal team stated that they hadn't been able to meet with their clients in person since March due to the coronavirus restrictions. And they noted that because R. Kelly cannot read or write well, he is unable to review documents on his own or to provide a feedback meaningfully. Attorney Tom Farinella said to CNN that for half the time he's been incarcerated, he's not been able to meet with counsel. This is illegal. While attorney Steve Greenberg added that Kelly is not a danger or a flight risk, and that he's a prime candidate for other inmates to abuse and to get jail credit for abusing, which they have a point. I mean, where can R. Kelly go? If all his travel documents are taken away and surrendered, and he is placed on a monitor, ankle monitor, and restricted to a home, an address, where can R. Kelly go? R. Kelly is R. Kelly. He won't be able to pass our borders. So where would he go? Anyhow, unfortunately for them, the courts ruled that the prosecution was able to present a clear and concise, convincing evidence that R. Kelly was in fact a flight risk, as well as a danger to the community, and they denied R. Kelly's lawyer's request to have him out on bail once more. So that's number 7. R. Kelly, the self-proclaimed king of R&B, is facing some allegations in a new Lifetime documentary and in a disturbing People magazine interview, specifically above his relationship with the late singer Aaliyah. Now, Aaliyah passed away a while back, and the whole R. Kelly to Aaliyah thing, I don't know if this is karma again or if this is coming full circle, but people are saying that he is going to have to pay for that as well, because the conditions under which he got married to Aaliyah seem to resonate with mind control, manipulation, abuse, and all those other things that he is being accused of. Now, in an interview with People magazine, 8 individuals who claim to have either been controlled by R. Kelly or have known people who have been spoke with the magazine about their experiences with the singer. The magazine article comes shortly before Lifetime premiered their new 6-part docuseries about Kelly, and that one was called Surviving R. Kelly, which a lot of us have seen by now. These were the good old days, but those are the things that also make you cry. Cunningham remembered once touring with Aaliyah when the artist was 15 years old after the singer had released her 1994 album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. And this was according to BET. We were out on the road with Aaliyah. This is how she told the story. She said, we were out on the road with Aaliyah on a tour bus. There really weren't many confined spaces on a tour bus. When you get on the bus, there are bunks. And so these bunks have like little curtains, so you can like pull them down at night if you don't want somebody to see you sleeping. So it just so happened that we were all laying in our bunks and the curtains are open. You know, we talking to each other and whatever. Everybody's communicating, we laughing, we on tour, we having fun. When the room door flew open on the bus, I don't know if the bus hit a bump, or I don't know if R. Kelly purposely flew the room door open because he wanted an audience, every one of us, to watch what he was doing. But the room door flew open on the bus, and we all could see Robert having sex with Aaliyah. At that time, Kelly was 27 years old. At that time, Aaliyah was a 15-year-old musical protege that was placed in his care. When asked to describe what she allegedly witnessed, Cunningham said, "Things that an adult should not be doing with a child." I can't stress to you how people are still suffering behind things that went on 20 years ago, she said. However, Cunningham wasn't the only one to recall Kelly's relationship with Aaliyah. Kelly's former personal assistant, Demetria Smith, also opened up about what he saw during his time with the singer, and he claimed that he witnessed Kelly and Aaliyah's wedding and that he even helped to get false documents so that the underage Aaliyah could actually get married to R. Kelly. Now, if documents are falsified in a wedding, then that wedding is null and void, right? However, he is still held accountable for the lengths that he went through to be with this child. Smith recalled Kelly approaching him when they were in Miami, Florida, and telling him that he got Aaliyah in trouble, believing that he had gotten her pregnant. That broke my heart right there, he said, because I really believed him when he said that he wasn't messing with Aaliyah, because I asked him before. I said, "I see y'all getting close. What's going on?" He said, "Man, I'm working with her. I'm not messing with her like that." But then he found out that he was, and it broke my heart. Once he told me that, she might be pregnant, I was at a loss for words. Smith further admitted, "I was in the room when they got married. I'm not proud of it. I had papers forged for them when Aaliyah was underage. I did it. It was just a quick little ceremony. She didn't have on no white dress, and he didn't have on no tux. Just everyday wear. She looked worried and she looked scared when the wedding was happening." According to reports, Kelly and Aaliyah's marriage was annulled just a year later. Her parents had the last say. This is what Smith said. Aaliyah later passed away when she was 22 years old after a plane crash while she was leaving the Bahamas. Now, Kelly's alleged relationship with Aaliyah, that wasn't the only time he was accused of engaging in sexual acts with a minor. A video allegedly showing just that with a woman who may have been as young as 14 caused him to be indicted in 2002. As noted by People, Kelly and the woman believed to be in the footage denied the people in the recording were actually them. Kelly was later found not guilty on 21 counts of child pornography in 2008. So this is nothing new with R. Kelly. In 2008, he was already tried, accused of, charged with 21 counts of child pornography. And the video leaked out. And I gotta tell you that I saw that video. I saw it on VHS. And everybody who's seen that video could tell that that was a little girl. Okay? And everybody who saw that video can tell that that was R. Kelly. However, R. Kelly and the girl were able to go to court and both say, "That's not me. That's not me." And based on that, that case was thrown out. And also so was 21 counts of child pornography. So he got away with a lot for quite some time. Robert R. Kelly is perhaps the most controversial figure in the music industry. His signature style of blending bizarrely explicit R&B sex ballads, bump and grind, I don't see nothing wrong, with inspirational gospel songs has drawn intense criticism while paradoxically also propelling him to superstardom. But the true divide in the public perception of Kelly is not over the kinky crooner's lyrics. Starting with his scandalous rumored marriage to Aaliyah when she was 15 years old, Kelly has remained a headline regularly regarding questions about his alleged preference for sex with minor-aged girls. The most infamous was his acquittal of that 14 child pornography charge in 2008. But that certainly wasn't the last word on the subject, because since then, he's continued to produce music and tour the world without a few major hiccups. Like I've said, if you've seen Surviving R. Kelly, then that should give you a good insight. Now, I'm not saying, this is my disclaimer for my channel, I'm not saying that R. Kelly is guilty because I wasn't there, but I cannot disregard these females' stories. Even though the reality is there that a lot of people are seeing money signs at the moment, because even if they won't get anything, on the other hand, they will at least be able to sue his estate for damages, and they could be awarded hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. It is said that he has money hiding offshore in different accounts, and he has dispersed his money, so now he is playing the broke role. But he has multiple lawyers. So not long after the end of his 2008 child pornography trial, which we'll get into momentarily, R. Kelly and his wife, Andrea Lee Kelly, finalized their divorce. So if you're wondering when he got divorced from Andrea, it was in 2008. Now, their marriage, like every other aspect of the singer's life, was not without a significant degree of drama. In 2005, his wife had actually filed a restraining order against R. Kelly, claiming that he beat her on multiple occasions. She later let that restraining order expire, though, instead of filing for an extension. So, in a spring 2007 interview with Essence, R. Kelly's wife shrugged off the questions when they asked about the restraining order. So if you're wondering when he got divorced from Andrea, it was in 2008. Now, their marriage, like every other aspect of the singer's life, was not without a significant degree of drama. In 2005, his wife had actually filed a restraining order against R. Kelly, claiming that he beat her on multiple occasions. She later let that restraining order expire, though, instead of filing for an extension. So, in a spring 2007 interview with Essence, R. Kelly's wife shrugged off the questions when they asked about the restraining order. She said, that's old news. And she also denied the couple's then separation had anything to do with the child pornography case. I'm no fair weather wife, she said. In other words, she was saying, I'm down for the long haul. I am here to go through all the problems with R. Kelly. He is my husband. I'm no fair weather wife. I'm not here when it's good and gone when it gets bad. At the time, she had maintained that they simply grew apart, but that they were actually working on trying to put their relationship back together. Now, by 2018, fast forward, by 2018, Andrea actually joined her voice to the chorus of her ex-husband accusers, finally revealing to The View that Robert was abusive to her on multiple occasions. She also claimed that he physically assaulted her in the back of a Hummer one time, and even hog-tied her by binding her hands to her feet. all of which tragically led to her contemplating suicide. As for why she has decided to speak out when she did, she expressed through Instagram that she was ashamed and she was coerced into silence for a long time, but that she wanted to help other victims of domestic abuse find the strength to break free from it and to speak their own truth. A lot of people are saying that, nope, she's after the money as well. Well, I don't know. I don't have anything that can say her story is a lie, so I don't know. Now, this brother actually got written in his signature style of stream of consciousness prose, R. Kelly's memoir. And he has a memoir out that's called SouFLoTV. You know, like roller coaster, but his is SouFLoTV, The Diary of Me. If you've never heard of SouFLoTV, The Diary of Me, then go look it up and have you a good read. Because in here, it has too many odds and random tidbits to list. For example, he spends a lot of time in the book detailing his love for McDonald's, to the point where he refers to McDonald's as the place that gives me comfort in times of trouble. The fast food joint was even the first stop R. Kelly made after winning his child pornography trial. He went right to McDonald's. Now, you're accused of child pornography. You just got out of court by the skin of your teeth. You just beat that. And you went right back to a place where children are gathered in numbers. Crazy. Anyhow, the fast food joint, which is McDonald's, it was the first stop Kelly made, right? He also makes several dark revelations, such as the claim that he witnessed his 8-year-old girlfriend, Lulu, drown in a river when he was a child, and the fact that he himself was a victim of repeated sexual abuse starting at the age of 8 years old. Sadly, there are even more disturbing passages relating to Kelly's childhood trauma. First, he recounts a time when, as a child, he peed in two adults. He peeked into a room as a child, and two adults were having sex. When they caught him watching, instead of being mortified, they actually invited him to watch them as they finished up, and even had him take photos of them while they were doing it. From there, R. Kelly claims that an older woman in the house started physically molesting him. This was printed in LA Weekly. It was a sad glimpse into the past that many viewed as a logical puzzle piece regarding his own history of sexual misconduct allegations. In other words, people are saying he's sick. He is sick because he's been enduring this type of stuff since childhood. So you know that whole cycle of hurt people. If they don't get help, abusers abuse. In his role as a music critic, Jim DeRogatis spent years covering R. Kelly for the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, throughout his entire tenure at the Chicago Sun-Times, he wrote piece after piece detailing charges brought against R. Kelly over not just the video recording at the center of the child pornography trial, but also dozens of additional accusations of statutory rape. In 2013, DeRogatis sat down with the Village Voice reporter Jessica Hopper. I don't know if y'all remember that. And he laid in all on the table in an effort to try to understand why the general public, in particular Kelly's loyal fan base, didn't seem to mind that this man had these charges and they were constantly coming up. I think in the end, there were like 24 women with various levels of details. Obviously, the women who were part of the hundreds of pages of lawsuits, hell of a lot of details. There were girls who just told one simple story. And then there were lots of girls who told stories that lasted hours, which still makes me sick to my stomach, he said. it never was one girl on one tape or one girl and then Aaliyah. Like Hannibal Buress, now infamous 2014 stand-up show in Philly that unearthed Bill Cosby's previously buried rape allegations, Derogatis Peace trained a spotlight on the singer's scandal. Kelly characteristically downplayed the bombshell report when it dropped, telling Atlanta V103 through the HuffPost, "Well, I feel like I got a football, man. I'm running towards the touchdown and stopping and looking back, mess around, I'll get tackled." He may have been onto something there. R. Kelly did himself no favors during what was supposed to be a tell-all GQ interview in 2016, because instead of offering candid confessions or apologies, R. Kelly rambled through many contradictory statements and got caught in a giant lie. He even repeated the same defense he's been using for years in the face of multiple accusations that he had sex with underage girls. They were all liars and extortionists, and he only settled with them on the advice of his lawyers, which he now regrets. Kelly also tripped himself up by absolving his own alleged abusers, admitting that he recognizes that sexual abuse is cyclical. As such, he assumed that his abusers had themselves been abused. So in other words, then he was saying he recognized that sexual abuse is something that's cyclical. So it goes around in a cycle. And so he was assuming that, hey, the people that abused him, they themselves were at one time abused, which is an astounding admission for him to make, since by his own logic, it would stand to reason that he would then become a sexual assailant at some point. He explained that away by saying that poverty is also a cycle from which he broke free. So ditto for the sexual abuse stuff. Then there was the outright lie, in which Kelly claimed that he was at his beloved mother's bedside when she died. He told this story differently, however, in both his book and in the Vibe interview, claiming that he received a phone call notifying that she had passed. Now, call us crazy, but lying about your mom's death, now that's probably last thing you would do in the middle of your soul-bearing attempt to set the record straight on your own shady past. In July of 2017, BuzzFeed reported that 3 sets of parents claimed R. Kelly was holding their daughters in a cult in Atlanta and in Chicago homes, controlling everything they do, from how they communicate to what they eat, as well as videotaping their sexual encounters. Now, in the report, Kelly's former personal assistant, Cheryl Mack, described Kelly as a master of mind control and a puppet master. 2 former lovers of R. Kelly corroborated the parents' claims, and they came out alleging that R. Kelly also physically abused the women if they dared to be too polite to any male that was in their presence. The young women were reportedly brought to Kelly by their parents who wanted to help their children find success in the music industry. Kelly then allegedly brainwashed the children. Kelly was also accused of restricting the women's phone calls usage, forbidding them from contacting family or friends without his blessings, and leaving his property without permission. Kelly allegedly also controlled the way that the females dressed and even made them receive permission to use the bathroom. So if they wanted to take a boo-boo, a number 1 or a number 2, they had to actually ask his permission. At least one of the women has spoken out multiple times denying that she is being held hostage, but more on that. Kelly has overwhelmingly denied all allegations against him. All allegations. R. Kelly is saying everybody has ganged up on him. They're telling lies on him. And they're trying to defame him and lock him up for life. He is in a fight for his life. One of the so-called survivors of R. Kelly's alleged sex cult, who was Jarhonda Pace. Jarhonda Pace made it clear that she was not with the singer because she wanted to be, but because she had been manipulated and abused into submission. I felt like a prisoner. I didn't have anyone to talk to. It was just me. I went into a depression, she said, on the 2019 Lifetime docuseries Surviving R. Kelly. I was mentally drained because he would break me down, then build me up, then make me feel like shit again, then do it all over again. He would really manipulate my mind. The breaking point for me, though, was when Rob slapped me and he choked me until I blacked out. That's when I said, hell no, I gotta get out of there. And guess what? There were many more stories that followed just like that one. It's crazy. R. Kelly's accuser, Laura Van Allen, alleged in the same Surviving R. Kelly docuseries through Rolling Stone that she made several explicit videos with the singer. Oh, he used to videotape us all the time while we did it. Oftentimes I would wonder why. She expressed that she never actually gave consent to be filmed because he never asked her permission. It was like, we're going to do it and the cameras are rolling. But also said that he never hid what he was doing from her either. Kitty Jones actually also made similar accusations in a 2017 interview with the magazine. Reporter Jim DeRogatis, who chronicled R. Kelly's crime sex allegations for years, told the Village Voice that it wasn't just the volume and the number of sex tapes R. Kelly filmed, but it was the content that was allegedly within them that was so disturbing. The videotapes, and not just one videotape, but numerous videotapes, and not Tommy Lee, Pam Anderson, Kardashian fun video, he said. He then described the act on a particular tape as a rape act, adding, so we're not talking about a rock star misbehavior here, which men or women can do. We're talking about predatory behavior. Their lives are ruined. Just read through the details of the lawsuits. So for those of you who are wondering what else do they have on R. Kelly, when they raided all his homes, all his properties, all his condos, all his studios, when they raided everything and they took all the hard drives and video cassettes and cameras and computer, laptops, musical equipment, recording equipment even, they found a lot. And when his trial finally comes, all these tapes are going to come out. There's rumors out there of one of the tapes where it was obvious that this girl was underage, not an adult age, and she was actually drugged or looked to be in a state of where she was incapacitated, and she was maneuvered and manhandled on tape. Why R. Kelly would keep these things? First of all, why would he do these things? I don't know. But why he would videotape it and then keep these things? Dumb as hell. Now, to Robert, Dominique is like the rebellious one. We're talking about the girls that he was with, right? The last two. She stays in trouble with him. She's a little tomboyish, and Robert plays on that. So he had molded her into the boy he wants her to be. This is what the employee had said, who chose to remain anonymous. So he had her shave off all her hair and carried herself like a boy, and even had her dress in boy's clothes, and even painted a beard and a mustache on her so she looked like a male. So he treated her like his boy toy. Ew. Now, according to USA Today, Gardner fled from R. Kelly's house or his condo during an episode of Surviving R. Kelly at the urging of her mom, and we all watched it. I've seen it. Well, this story with R. Kelly seems to have no end, because one of R. Kelly's former employees also claimed that he helped to forge the documents to the Step in the Name of Love singer to marry R. Kelly, and that's big because that person themselves are now caught up in court and are currently in the process of cutting their own deals to save their own self. So guess what they are going to do? They're probably going to serve as witnesses for the state against R. Kelly, which will put the nails in his coffin. Kelly's team members alleged in the docuseries that the singer had beds in every room of his Chicago recording studio, with one of his former backup singer, Javante Cunningham, alleged that Kelly sexually violated a friend of hers when she and her friends were just teenagers at the time, and he did it in front of everybody. There are even stories where they have said he would have males give him oral, and he would force others to watch. Now, this tends to mean that he is bisexual, and it could also explain why he had groomed that female to be a male, had her dressing like a boy, even painted a beard on her face. Weird. I think R. Kelly got away with a lot for a long time, and I think there were a lot of people that were making a lot of money off of him, so they wanted to protect the cash cow. However, I do see the difference, because people like Harvey Weinstein, they were allowed to go home and get their lawyers and prepare for their trial and mount a defense. Whereas in R. Kelly's case, he's been accused many times. He has been to court many times on serious accusations just like these, and he has never ran. He has never fled. So to his defense, he has actually always showed up to court. Whether he was going to go to prison or not, he showed up. So his track record should actually show that he's not a person that's going to run. He's going to stay. My personal opinion, though, is that if R. Kelly is released, that he is so traumatized at this particular time that I personally think that he will actually end up taking his own life. He is under watch right now, so he is not able to take his life. But if given freedom, even if he is confined with an ankle bracelet to a room, if given freedom, I think R. Kelly will find a way to smoke his last blunt, pop his last bottle of his favorite expensive champagne or wine, do what he does one last time, and it'll probably be with them as young as he likes them, and he will then take his own life, whether it be by overdose or it be by gunshot or hanging. I don't know how it'll be. It's kind of a morbid situation just even thinking that way. But just like his own brother said, I can do time. My other brother, he could do it too. He's built for that. But we know for a fact that Rob is not built for this, and he is not going to survive it. Regardless of what, he is still my brother. We all got messed up family members. This is his brother talking. We all got messed up family members, and we don't disown them. We condemn the wrongs that they do, but we still have to be there for them because that's our family member. And I'm going to leave it right there. Leave your comments in the comment section below and tell me, do you think that R. Kelly is going to be able to beat these charges? Now, remember what I just said about the videotapes that these sources have described. And there are a lot of videotapes as they described it. And majority of them have gross things on them that are evidence to put him away. Now, knowing now, because before all they had were accusations, and Kelly was always able to pay off people, and he said in court that he regrets paying these people off, but he did it at the advice of his lawyers. You know, when you're at the top of your game and you're in demand, you have to fly out to Dubai, and the next day you have to be in France, and the next day you're in Paris, and the next day you're in London, and the next day you're in Egypt somewhere, the next day you're in some other part of the world, and you're back in the States touring all 50 states, and you're in demand and on the go, and there are a large group of people, from dancers to backup singers, choir, band, instrument players, engineers, managers, assistants. When a group of people depend on you, they tend to want to keep the ball rolling. So their lifestyle, their paycheck continues to roll in at the rate it's rolling in now. So it makes sense that his lawyers would say, look, this is what we have on the table. This is what you're being accused of. Here what? Let's not take this to court. Let's approach these people with a deal outside of court. Let's give this person $500,000. That's what we're going to have to do for this not to make it to court. If it makes it to court, you're going to have to stop touring. You're going to have to stop making music. And you risk the possibility of going to prison, which would stop the whole show. So you had a lot of people on board that were like, okay, pay this person off. Make it go away. Have them sign these non-disclosure papers and we'll carry on with business. But those started becoming too many. And when they started becoming too many, it started becoming a problem. He didn't have any more money to pay all the people that he was doing these things to. This is what it seems like. So when the money ran out, people started taking it to the public. And then those who already got paid and signed the papers, they started coming out too. Like, I don't care. I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but I don't care. That money is done anyways. So I don't care. I'm still going to tell. Will this hold up in court though? It might not hold up in court legally, but for the fact that they will give these people the stage to speak. And you heard them say over 50 witnesses will be there on the state's behalf. So when this holds up in court, not as credible anything, but it will strike the heart of the jurors. When someone comes forward and say, yeah, I was 15 at the time, but we got paid $500,000 to disappear. And we did, because we thought it was the right thing to do. Plus, you know, we were in poverty, bills was killing us and all this other stuff. So we took the money and we went our way. But just for the record, it did happen. I don't know if that's going to hold up in court. Regardless of what, though, it is my personal assessment that R. Kelly will probably never be free again from prison in my lifetime. It sounds sad, but it's even sadder for the victims. And if he is guilty of all he has been accused of, and the worst, if they actually have videotaped proof, fry him, lock him up and throw away the key, and may he go through whatever prisoners go through when prisoners do a whole lot of time in prison. Y'all know what goes on behind them walls. We're going to leave this one right here at the top of the hour. Like, comment, share, subscribe, leave your comments in the comment section below, and let's talk about this one. I'm out. Peace.